Hey everybody. Alright, coming at you from the great outdoors. Well, partial outdoors. I'm near a lake. Let's talk a little bit about a couple of techniques for using a compass. I've done a couple of compass videos in the past, and there's a technique. There's a lot of compass videos on YouTube, but there's two techniques that I know of for navigating around objects with a compass. Okay. Now, yes, I know there's GPS, but some people just like to stay old school, like me. I like old school. I like a compass. Okay. Not only do I like a compass, but at times a GPS is nothing but a fancy case for dead batteries, and that makes me nervous. Because if you got a compass, as long as you don't smash it, you're good to go. So, the two methods for navigating around objects. Okay. Now, one of the methods, you use one compass. Okay. And if you've got an object you can't cross over, but you can see your destination, that's what this first method is for. The second method is for if there's an obstacle in your way that you need to navigate around, but you can't see the other side, but you want to continue going in one direction. Okay? So, first things first, for those of you that haven't watched the other videos or don't know how to use a compass, you don't take a compass. For one thing, the red in the shed, the red needle always points north. Okay? Red always points north. Now, this compass has developed a bubble, which is very much irritating because it was stored in the cold basement. But these bubbles right here will go away. All you got to do is in the summertime put them in the dashboard of your car, and as they heat up, it'll expand and it'll make the bubble go away. Because this is vacuum sealed. The oil in here is vacuum sealed. So when it gets cool, it contracts, put it in the sun, it expands and will pop the bubble without leaking. I don't know how it works. It's pretty amazing. But that's like $100 compass. So I hope I can get the bubble to go away. But the only thing about this thing, this being a liquid filled compass, is it's got a global needle. And the good thing about a global needle is that you can tilt it one way or another just a little bit. It ain't got to be held perfectly flat. So if you tilt it a little bit, you can have the bubble to tilt away from where you're looking. Okay, all right, enough rambling about that. Now, the thing about a compass is this is a map compass. All right, it doesn't have a sighting mirror. All this is just a flat compass with a bezel on it and a scale. Now, you can navigate with this, but it's not as easy. You need something like this that has a sighting mirror and a hole for sighting through. Alright, now I'm going to show you something real quick if you don't know on the basics of how to sight to an object and how to get there. I have my direction of travel set at 10 degrees. Okay, of course 0 degrees is north. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to set this direction of travel for what area you want to go to. So let's say that I want to travel 10 degrees. Okay, so what you do is you hold the compass flat. You turn your mirror back until you can see it. Okay, now I can see it clearly. And what you want to do is you see how the red is pointing towards north? See how the red is in the arrow, and as I move it, it changes? That's called the red in the shed. Okay, so you want to keep that red right there. Now, I've got the north lined up, and I've got this set at 10 degrees. So what I want to do is this little sighting window here, what I want to do is I want to aim it up and I want to pick an object. And what I'm doing is I'm picking up that big tree right there. Can you see that on video? Okay, just like, let's turn around here, like that tree right there. You pick up that tree, or you'll pick up that tree. Let's move it over here. Let's pick up this lone tree right here. And that's another thing, if I wanted to find out a location of that tree right there, then what I would do is I would take my compass. This is hard to do right here, looking through here. I'm going to aim right there. See that line? See how I've got that tree picked up in this little window right here? So what I can do now is while I'm looking at this, I can run my dial, wrong way. I run my dial over to where, because red always points north, so I've got the red lined up right in there. So then what I do, let's see if I'm still on that tree. All right, now I'm holding on that tree. Red's pretty close. So now you can read your direction to travel here is like 305 degrees. See, 305 degrees. But anyway, basically that's how you do it. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. But that's what you do. In other words, what I'm saying is you don't just take a compass and you don't just hold it and just blindly follow it. You know, what you do is you pick an object out, you sight off an object in the distance and you pick it out and you follow and you walk to that object, then you stand in front of that object and then you pick another object off in the distance and then you walk to it. Okay, clear as mud. All right, now let's navigate across this lake right here. All right, so let's say that I am traveling through the woods and I am picking out one object to another, okay? And I'm going 240 degrees southwest, okay? Now, the last object that I picked out was that tree right there. Now, how am I going to get across that water, all right? Now, the way to do that, you got to walk around the lake, but you got to figure out how to get to the other side and remain with your bearings, okay? So, what I'm going to do, I've got my compass set up at 240 degrees, okay? Let me open this up, put this on macro. All right, I've got the compass on 240 degrees, okay? So what I'm gonna do, now I traveled to that tree, so what I need to do is I need to stand in front of that tree, but I can't because there's no land there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stand behind it. Let's see if I can see this thing. What you wanna do is you wanna turn this until the red is in the shed, 240 degrees. And so what you wanna do is you wanna lift this thing up. Now my camera's not high enough, but what I'm gonna do, I don't think you can see this. I'm gonna sight through here. Now this is up too high to see, but what I'm sighting through is that tree right there. I'm gonna lower it down a little bit, but I've picked up that tree. Let me move you over now. Now what I've done is on the other side is if I walk around this lake and I stand in front of that large pine tree on the left, see there's two big large pine trees, okay? Now that should be easy, shouldn't it? Okay? Now here's the kicker, okay? What if on the other side of the lake it looked like this? What if you had multiple little bitty trees that looked exactly the same? Okay? Now what I would do normally is with this tree I would put some sort of a marker on it of some kind, okay? And what you can say is by visually saying there's 3 trees right here that are about the same size and a little tiny one there and a little tiny one there. This is where it helps to have like binoculars, because what you can do is set something in the tree. Like if you got binoculars, you can take some branches and set them up in the tree. They'll be bigger than this. Well, that one ain't staying. Nah. That was a stupid thing to suggest with these little things. There's no big branches around here, but what you can do is take a big branch and set a branch across this thing. That way when you get to the other side, you're going to know you're right. Now, in this case, we've got 2 big trees and we know we're going to be at the one on the left, but what I'm trying to say is what if these trees were the same as over there? You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't know which tree, you wouldn't be 100% sure of which tree is over there, okay? So I'm going to show you, this is the methodology on how to get across, okay? So what you do, I just shot that one tree at my 240 degrees, my direction of travel, and that tree is the one I need to walk to, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to walk around the lake, and after we walked around the lake, I'm going to show you how to backtrack with your compass to figure out if you're in a straight line, because with the compass, there's a thing called parallelism that you can get off. You can be traveling in a straight line, but your parallelism can be off if you're traveling, if you pick the wrong tree on the wrong side, if they all look the same. So let's go over there and then we're going to take a back bearing and I'm going to show you how to make sure that you're in a straight line. So now videos, these locations for these things, they ain't always perfect, okay? Now we're walking around the lake now, and like I said, sometimes it's kind of hard for me to explain, and it might be hard for you to understand how I'm explaining it, but if the landscape features all look the same, then you need to be able to determine that the point you've left is and the point you've reached is correct. Because if it's not, that's not going to be a good thing. So, and if all the landscape features are the same, then you need to be able to determine that you've gotten across in the proper manner. So I'm going to walk around here, and then we'll set you back up on the tripod. I got you on the easy cam. I don't know if it's I don't know if the sun's in your eyes or not. Well, the sun's directly overhead. So, all right, we'll be over there in just a minute. To the other side of the lake. Okay. Now, our object that we pointed, that we pinpointed, the object that we sighted on out of the little mirror here was this pine tree that was on the left. Okay. Now, bear with me for a minute. At this point, we know there was only 2 pine trees here. So what I'm going to do next is, since I've crossed over the lake, I'm going to stand on the other side of this pine tree, and I'm going to aim my compass at an object and pick something out and continue on to my 240 degrees. Yeah, 240 degrees southwest. Okay. Now, imagine for a minute, the reason I'm teaching you this method, imagine if there was 20 pine trees over here. Okay. Now, if I'm behind this pine tree, I'm going to continue in a straight line. But if I get the wrong pine tree, I may stand in front of it and shoot 240 degrees southwest, but I'll be off. My parallelism will be off. Okay, you get what I'm getting at now? That it'll no longer in a straight line. Your direction will be correct, but your parallelism will be off. Okay? So the way you're going to check this is you're going to take the tree that you think is the correct tree. Okay? And then you're going to shoot back to the shoreline 180 degrees difference. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, I'm standing in front of the pine tree, okay? And I'm looking back across the lake that we just traveled across. Now, the whole shoreline looks about the same. Now, if I was standing at a whole bunch of pine trees on this side behind me, I wouldn't know which one I was standing in front of. Now, if I had a wild guess just from paying attention, I would think that it was I think I see 3 trees over there that are about the same size, right over in there. But you can't really guess. So what you do to double check and make sure, okay, is you've got your distance to travel, which is 240 degrees southwest. What you want to do is you want to turn it 180 because you're shooting backwards. It's what's called a back bearing. So we're going with 60 degrees northeast. Because I want to shoot back because I am standing in front of the correct tree. Okay? So what I want to do is I'm going to line this thing up. See if I can see it where you can see it. I'm going to line this up to where right there. Okay? The north is in there. And so what I'm wanting to do, and this is where a spotting scope comes in handy, but I can't shoot through the camera with a spotting scope. So what you want to do is you want to put this thing on your tree, and remember what you want to do is you want to spot over there with your spotting scope, and if you see that branch that you hung in a tree, you'll want to aim your compass at it, and if the north lines up and the tree winds up inside that window, if the tree winds up inside that window, then you're correct. Because see, if the north was lined up and I was at the wrong tree, see how far off I could be? See how the distance could be with those trees? And that's how you take a back bearing to make sure of where you were. Okay? Because like I said, they all look the same. I hope that makes some sense. But like I said, if all the landscape looks the same, you're going from tree to tree, but you don't want to get confused. You don't want to pick out the wrong tree if there's a batch of them that all look the same. Alright? I don't know if that makes any sense or not. It may be confusing, but basically that's it. And then stand behind this tree and keep going 240 southwest. So that's the first method. Okay? Alright, let's go on to the second method. Coming back from around the lake, the more I think about it, I fear that some of what I just said was confusing. So before we move on to the next method, I think what I'm going to do is we're going to run back to the gear room, and I'm going to make a quick drawing real quick. I'm sure a lot of you understood that, but for some it may be kind of hard to grasp. So we're going to do a dry erase board thing real quick to kind of show you, and hopefully if you didn't understand that, you'll understand it on the board. You can go back and look at that, and that'll tell you. And that's also a good place for me to set up the next method for navigating around an object that you cannot see the other side. Okay? And now with the other one, you can do it with one compass, but I'm going to explain how it's easier to do it with two compasses. And that's the way I do it, is I use two compasses. Okay? And I'll explain my methodology on that. You may use it, you may not, I don't know. But so, all right, the more I think about it, you know, yeah, let's run back to the gear room and do a quick rundown on the dry erase. I've drawn a lake, okay? This blue thing here is the lake, and all these little things are trees, these little round things, all right? So let's say what I was doing, I was traveling through the woods, okay? And I went from, I stood in front of this tree and I sighted to the next tree. Okay, I'm going through the woods, sighted to the next tree. Okay, well I'm standing in front of this tree right here, and I got a lake in my way, so I'm going to have to walk around this lake. So what do I need to do? To continue in my direction, I need to sight to another tree. Okay, so let's see, that is, let's put a tree here. Okay, because you're going to sight to whatever tree is in your travel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sight to this tree right here. Okay, so I'm going to walk around the lake and I'm going to get here. Okay, now here's the deal. If you have a whole bunch of trees on either side of the lake, you're not going to know, and if they all look the same as what I was explaining, you're not going to know if you're in a straight line. Because what if you walked around this lake, okay? Now, let's say this is my straight line. I get here, then I stand in front of this tree, and I continue sighting my way forward. All right. Well, what if I walk around this lake, and I just imagine, oh, this is my tree. Well, and I stand in front of it and start going. Okay, well, I'm going to be off a little bit. I'll be in the same direction, but I'll be off, and you don't want that to happen. You want to be able to continue on in your path. So this is why I was explaining, and I didn't show a good job of it, but this tree right here that you've left, take like a branch and lay it in it, or lay branches up against it so that when you get over here, you can make sure that that's the tree that you left. Now the reason it's important to know the tree you left is because you can stand in front of, whenever you take your chosen tree, when you stand in front of it and you take a 180-degree back bearing, you should be able to shoot straight to that tree. Because if you're standing in front of this tree or this tree, when you shoot a back bearing, it's not going to land on that tree, and you'll know you're wrong. But if you're standing in front of this tree, you're going to shoot a back bearing, and it's going to go straight to where you are, and you can continue in your straight path across the lake. All right? Makes sense? Clear as mud. So let's take a look at an object like this. This is obviously something that you couldn't climb up. All right? This is a huge barren wall cliff type area. And you would have to be an expert in mountaineering or mountain climbing to be able to get around this. So, I mean, to be able to get up it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to go around it. And in this case, you would go around, but once you get around to the other side, which you cannot see, you need to know how to continue on to a straight path. So what I'm going to do is we're going to run back. Now I'm not actually going to film here because this is too hard to film. But you get the basic idea when you come across something like this that you need to navigate around. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to run back and I'm going to show you in a dry erase board that there's two different methods for doing this. And one of them, it's actually easier if you use two compasses. And I'll explain why on the dry erase board. I really should explain the other first before I did it. But with this method, this is definitely going to be much, much easier if I show it ahead of time. And then I'm going to kind of walk around in an area that's easier to film so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's head back to the gear room one more time. Now, let's say this is the object or obstacle that you cannot get around. Okay, cliff, mountain, pile of dirt, whatever. Something you can't get around and you can't see to the other side. Okay, so let's say that you're traveling, all right, let's say that you're traveling south, okay, 180 degrees south, okay. That looks like a 2. I do it from the bottom. All right, you're going 180 degrees south, all right. This is in your way, you can't see the other side, and you want to continue on 180 degrees south, okay? 180 degrees south. That looks like a 2 again. You get the idea. All right, so the way you're going to navigate around this thing is you're going to take your compass, and you got your compass set for your direction of travel. Your direction of travel is 180 degrees, okay? So the only way to get around this thing is you're going to have to reset your compass for 270 degrees, or for whatever you're traveling at. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a 90 degree turn. Okay, so you have to reset your compass 200 degrees, 270 west. All right. Now, then you're going to have to continue on in the direction you're going, south 180. Then you're going to have to turn your compass again to 90 degrees, 90 degrees east, and go. Okay, so now the trick behind this, 90 degrees east. Now the trick behind doing this is to the way you stay in a straight line is that as soon as you turn and start following your compass, you need to count your paces. Whether you count them or use a pace bead or whatever. We'll talk about that later when we go out into the field and I kind of walk you through it. But let's say, for example, you go 300 paces, okay? Well, you can walk here and you don't even have to keep up with it. It doesn't even matter. That's irrelevant because you're going in the same direction of travel. But when you return, you better go 300 paces. That way you're going to wind up picking up your straight line of travel, because if you don't walk enough, you're going to be over parallel. Or if you walk too many, you'll be over parallel. All right. Now here's the thing that I'm going to show you. You can take a compass and you can use a compass and you can just turn it back and forth, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can turn it 4 times. And that's fine and dandy if you've got regular numbers like this. But in the real world, you may be traveling like maybe 18 degrees or like 212. And with all this moving around, it gets very complicated. So what I would do is I would have, like say this compass right here, let's set it for 180 degrees, and that's how I'm traveling, okay? Let's leave this 180 degrees, okay? Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put this in my right pocket, okay? I'm going to be traveling straight, and I'm going to take this, I'm going to travel straight. Okay, this is set, this is my travel, it's going in my right pocket. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my second compass, and whatever I turn to, okay, we're going to set it for 270. Okay, so this is my deviation compass. Okay, I'm going to be going 270 west with this compass. Now, I'm going to be following along, and I'm going to walk my paces, okay, 100, 200, 300 paces, whatever. As soon as I walk my paces, I'm going to put this in my left pocket, okay, and then I'm going to pull this out. My right pocket didn't move a thing. I'm going to travel on at my 180 degrees south. Okay, this is my travel. When I walk and I'm looking and I see flat land over here, and I can start heading back around the obstacle, put this back in your right pocket, pull this out of your left pocket, okay? Now what did I just do? Okay, I switched back over to my deviation compass, and if I went 270, then I know automatically that whatever I had this set in, all I have to do is go 180 degrees, which is 90. And then I'm going to go my 300 paces. Okay, makes sense? Okay? Alright, the reason for this is because, like I said, if you get into some weird, like if you have to deviate on like something weird, like a 142, you don't have to write it down, you don't have to remember, you don't have to think. Because this being your deviation compass in your left pocket, you just pull it out, and all you got to do is look down on the bottom and spin it 180 degrees, and that'll be how you get back to your direction of travel. So once we've done that, pull out the old right compass, and it's set, it's ready to go. I'll continue on 180 south. Alright, clear as mud. I hope you understand this. Now after we run through this in the field with the two compasses, just kind of run through it real quick, then I'm going to show you a third method, but you can't always use it. But this is definitely something to keep in your old toolbox. Keep in the brain in case you need it, because if you don't have a GPS, this is the way of getting around objects when you can't see the other side. Okay? Alright, let's go out into the field. Alright, so I got a nice clear open area behind me. Alright, now I wasn't real happy about how the first scene worked out with the lake. You know, sometimes I try to make things like as realistic looking as possible, but sometimes, as I experience with looking across the lake, sometimes it's just harder to teach a method that way. Now, that other method for seeing across is pretty much see, spot, run. You're at an object, you find another object, you see it, you go around to it, meet it. Now, this next method, when you can't see the other side, like the cliff that I showed you, you know, and if you're caught in a situation like that, you know, you're either a mountaineer with rope or you're on the set of a Discovery Channel show. But in reality, neither happens. You have to figure out a way of getting around the object and continuing on your path without veering off your path. So you have no choice but to go around these objects. So this method that I'm going to show you, it's been called a 90-degree method, and it's also been called the right, left, left, right, which is kind of stupid, but if you call it that, it makes the methodology easy to remember if you do it one compass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to show it to you from a distance with a microphone, and I'm just going to I want you to just kind of watch as I walk through it, and I'm going to be talking you through it. Now, the thing is when you're going, when you're traveling these distances, okay, your right and your left distances, you have to pace, okay? Now, hopefully all of you have heard of pace beads. Now, what pace beads are is it's a set of beads. Generally, there's 9 and 4. And what it is you count your paces, okay? Every time your left foot lifts off the ground and hits the ground, let's see, every time it hits the ground, when one foot hits the ground, that's a pace. So you need to count your paces and see how many paces it takes to walk 100 meters, okay? It's somewhere between 55 and 65, depending on who you are and how fast you walk, if it's flat land or if it's hilly land, okay? Not going to get real big into the pace beads, but basically what it is with the 9 and the 4, every time you walk 100 meters, you pull one down. That's 100 meters. Count paces again, 200 meters. Count paces again, 300 meters, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. When you get to 900 meters, the next 100 meters is going to make 1 kilometer or 1,000 meters. So you pull down the top one and pull all the beads up at the top. Same thing. Walk another, you've got 1 kilometer, 100 meters, 1 kilometer, 200 meters. Okay, so what you do with these things is you can just take these things and you can attach them to your shirt. Like this right here where they've got like this is a handy place. You can put them on a neck knife, but if you've got like, can't even see. Yeah, like one of these places right here. So you can just take these and just attach them to your shirt. I think this little thing is supposed to be for sunglasses. But anyway, you can just attach them right there, or if you've got a whistle or a neck knife or something, you can hang them on that. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the camera up, and I'm going to get the microphone out, and I'm going to walk you through how I go around an object. Okay, you with me? All right. And I'm going to show two different views of doing this. So hopefully you'll get this, because this is a very handy method. I had to get far away from the truck, and hopefully you can see everything. And this is very, very, very hard to film from a distance by myself. So what we've got here is, okay, let's say this bicycle is that cliff. Okay, this is the object that I need to go around. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is my compass. Okay, I'm going to have my compass, and I'm traveling, let's say I'm traveling 180 degrees south. Okay, so I've got my direction set for 180 degrees south. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I've lined up my north, my red needle, and so what I'm going to do is you put a right foot out. Okay, well, I'm just showing you this now because I'm walking in a straight line, but with your paces, you have your right foot out. When your left foot comes off the ground, when it lands, that's one pace. Okay, so that's 1, 2. Okay, but paces are irrelevant right now. So what we're going to do now is, remember I told you the right, left, right, left? Okay, it's actually left, right, right. Okay, and the way you remember that is because left, right, you always count paces with your left foot. Start out on your right with your left. That's an easy way of remembering left, right. Unless you're going in the other direction around the object, it's right, left, okay? A little confusing, but it's easier with two compasses, okay? Now, let's say that we are standing, okay, I've walked up and I'm going 180 degrees, okay? So what I want to do is I want to go around this object, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my compass to the left to go right, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm at 180, so I'm going to turn my direction heading to 270 west because I'm turning my body right, okay? Left, right, all right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going around the object. I can't see. This is a big cliff. I can't see it, okay? So I'm going to start out on my right foot, okay? 1, 2, 3 paces, okay? Okay, that's just 3 paces, okay? Now, in reality, that may be, 50 meters, 100 meters, whatever, okay? Now what I'm going to do is my original direction, I'm going to go back to 180, okay? Lining back up my north needle, my travel is 180. So now I'm traveling around the object, okay? So it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I can walk however I want to. It doesn't matter because it's straight line, okay? Straight line. Now what does matter, to get back over to my original parallel line, what I need to do is I need to count back my paces, whatever I came over this amount. So this time, what I'm going to do is I am going to turn my dial to the left, which would be east 90 degrees, and I'm going to turn, wait a minute, let's see. I turned it, wait a minute, I was 180. Okay, I'm going to turn right, my dial to the right to turn left, okay? Because I'm going to 90 degrees, and then I'm going to turn this way, put 1 foot out, 1, 2, 3, okay? So what I have done now is I made a 90-degree turn, another 90 back to my original direction of travel, south 180, and then I made another 90 and I paced myself back over to where I was in line from where I started. Make sense? And so now all I got to do is run back to my original 180 and I'm good to go. No paces, no nothing. I just take off walking. Now let's take a peek at the 2 compass method, okay? All right, so let's say that I'm walking along and I've got my north lined up, okay? Now normally if you don't have a global needle, your compass has to be flat, but I think I can get by with doing this like this for the sakes of the video. So let's say that I'm at 180, okay? Now, if you're at something really, really weird number, like, I don't know, 188 or, 39, it helps to have 2 compasses, okay? So what you can do is you can just say that this thing right here is going to be in my right pocket, and I am not going to change it. This is my direction of travel, okay? This is not my deviation compass. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be walking along. Okay, we're walking along. This is 180. I'm following my course. Okay, all right. I have a cliff in front of me. I have an obstacle in front of me. Okay, so what am I going to do? my 180 degree, my distance, my direction compass, I'm gonna put it in my right pocket and I'm gonna pull out the left one, okay? Now on the left one, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to turn, okay, and I've got it set for 270, okay? So what I'm gonna do now, I see this compass right here, this one kind of goes crazy. I have to hold it flat because it doesn't have a global needle. But it's set at 270, okay? So what I'm doing now is I'm going to walk around my object. Okay, now I have paced myself a certain distance. So this goes back in my pocket. Now what do? I pull out my regular distance, my regular direction travel, and I'm going to turn until I am back to the red is in the north, and I'm going 180, okay? See, this compass in my right pocket I never touched. So now I'm walking around the object, okay? I'm right beside the object. If I look over to the left, I can see the cliff, okay? So I've walked a certain amount until I feel confident that I'm past the object, okay? Now the only compass change that I have to do now is I have to pull out the original compass, the compass out of my left pocket, and see down on the bottom, all I got to do, even if this is a weird digit up here, but it's not, I'm using 270 to show you, all I got to do is move this bottom number to the top, which in this case is going to be 90 degrees. See right there? And so all we got to do now is we have to turn until the red hits north. Okay, the magnetic needle's in north. Now whatever paces that I walked, okay, I'm going to walk this amount. You know, pick an object, walk to it, okay? So see, that was only one change of that compass that I did. I started out with this compass 90 degrees off my original one, and then I wound up changing it 180. So here I am back at my original compass that I have never changed. It's always stayed on 180. So what am I going to do? I'm going to swing back around until red is in the shed. The red is matching the north, okay? And then I'm gonna continue on my travels around the object. All right, I hope that made a little bit of sense. I keep repeating myself on this video because this is kind of hard to understand, but I personally haven't seen anybody show these methods on YouTube. So if you're interested in using a compass, this will be the methods you will use. Now, there is a third method, but you can't use it very often. And you may like it better. And I don't even know how to walk it out to where you can understand it. It's so much easier just to go back to the gear room and put it on the dry erase board. Yeah, that's what it is. See, my mind slips when I'm in front of the camera. So anyway, remember think about it. If you have to, watch it again. On that other one, you can either use the one compass method or the two compass method. The third one, you only use one compass. It's called the 45 degree method. Okay, that's what we'll go over next. All right, so let's head back to the gear room. Back at the gear room, let's take a look at this other method. Okay, this is the method that you won't necessarily use very often, but you can use it sometimes. All right, so let's say you're traveling north 0 degrees. 0 degrees north. Okay, now I'm just using standard, you know, north, south, east, west type things in like 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 80 degrees, make these things easier to understand. You know, you may be going like 7 degrees or you may be going 280, you know, whatever. I'm just trying to make this easier to understand. Now, when you get to an object, okay, that you can't see around and you want to get to the other side, your object is to get around it and continue north in your same path. Okay, now the way to do this is you got to be, the reason that I don't use this that often is because your pace counts have to be dead accurate. All right, so what you're going to do in this case right here is when you're going 0 degrees north, you're going to lean your compass over 45 degrees. Okay, so be 45 minus 0 will give you 305. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go at a 45 degree angle and you're going to count your paces. Okay, this is going to be 305 degrees on your compass northwest. Okay, you're going northwest now. You're deviating. Now, you're counting the paces. Count your paces. Now, when you're halfway past the object, okay, what you're going to do is remember how many paces you've counted, okay? Pace, 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 pace. Let's say that you paced 150 paces, and you can look over and you can see that you're right in the middle of this object, okay? Or at least past it. What you're going to do then is you're going to swing back to the other 45, which would also be 90 from where you're at. So you're going to swing back 45 plus another 45, which is a total of 90 from where you were here. Because you're going to make a 90-degree angle here. And what you're going to do then is this is going to be 45 degrees northeast. Now, if you went 45 this way 150 paces, if you go northeast 150 paces, it's going to put you right back in line with where you need to go. All right, makes sense? That is the 45-degree, look at me throwing that compass around. I guess I don't mind throwing it around because I'm so angry about it having a bubble in it. And that just drives me insane. Anyway, these compass videos, there's thousands of compass videos on YouTube. And a lot of them is just a dude sitting there talking. And the reason I think they do that is because these things are so hard to film. And this one was hard to film. I hope you understood it. And, you know, if you're old school like me and you like compasses, you know, these methods, practice them, use them, you know, they're the way to go. You know, you don't have to have a GPS or a case for your dead batteries. Hope you learned something. I hope you had fun. This was kind of fun going over with me. It's always good to try to refresh my memory because I know how to do this stuff in my head, but explaining it is not real easy. So, anyway, until the next one, I shall see you then.